Yes, so as I was getting into 14, 15 years of age, then I was doing a lot of clients actually. I started very early by doing that. But the benefit and the fun part about doing this is that I had a possibility and a chance through the salon that I was in to do many different things. So I had my clientele base that I could really experiment on, learn what they wanted, understand the psyche of the client, what they actually want, how to translate this into techniques and all of this kind of stuff. In the meantime, obviously, I had learned a lot of mechanics, terminology, and all that kind of stuff. But also on the sideline, I was doing during the weekends a lot of theater productions, show productions. My boss did a lot of performance and shows in the country, so I was doing a lot of this stuff next to my work in the salon that gave me a lot of perspective, I would say, in sense of what possibilities was out there. And that gave me a curiosity, an unforgiving curiosity that I wanted more. Doing clients in the salon, I respected them tremendously, still do today, because it's a hard work and a hard labor, and it's a lot of focuses that needs to go into it. However, the possibilities of doing a little bit of theater, a little bit of show work, a little bit of education, so many different things, that variety, I think, was really triggered me to wanting to do more. And I think that that's what happened once I had actually done 10 years in the salon. I had to get a license. And the point was, my boss was very particular about this. I can go as an apprenticeship, that was not a problem for her, but she was more concerned that I had to get things writing on paper to get verification if I wanted to do anything else in the world, that no one could say that you're not qualified, that you're not educated. So I went through 3 years of hairdressing education as well. I think the only problem was for my teachers, because I had learned obviously all of my mechanics and terminology for 10 years in the salon with her. So I was a little bit of a idiot because of the point I was correcting them a lot, actually, on techniques and everything else, and pointing out terminology faults and mistakes here and there, and they were a little bit irritated by that. But I also learned a lot about teaching at that point, because I was very analytical as a child, and I think that was fascinating to me, the whole procedure of giving away information, how it's done, how I perceived that, and I saw the inspirational persona of my boss. That was like a very energetic person. She gave everything from A to Z in a very heartfelt passion. It may not always have been correct per se, but my teachers gave it very correct, but very stale and stiff. It was very uninspirational for me. So I think that mixture of seeing, aha, there's two different worlds to this, and there's two different things that I can deal with here, actually was the piece that got me into wanting to do education, I think, which came a little bit in the next step of this. When I graduated from school, I also, first thing I did was actually I walked into my boss and I said I resign. And she was stunned. I was stunned that I actually did this. But I think for me, wanting to do more with the experience I had from the past, going to the United States, going through a new sense of education, putting myself on a school bench to learn how to teach, was a different thing. My intention was to stay in the United States for 3 months. I ended up coming home after 10 years. So it turned out to be a little bit longer than intended, but I learned a lot during this journey, which was fantastic. I remember very, very well that in class, it was the 3-month class that I had booked to learn, terminology, the language, everything, but in English, obviously. So my point was to take this education and then see what happens and what I can, fulfill from that point. So after half the class, of course, I was complaining to the owner that I think the class was too slow. I needed to have it to be more speeded up. And then the owner said to me, and then he said, come back to me in 2 days. I came back to him in 2 days, and I was a little nerve-wracking because I figured, maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I was a little too over-challenging. I don't know what happened. So he said to me, are you ready? And I wasn't really sure what he meant by that. And then he said to me, are you ready? And I said, well, yeah, I'm pretty much ready for whatever you want to throw at me. I think, young, very cocky attitude, whatever. So he said to me, well, because you're taking over the class tomorrow. So the class that I was once a student in, now all of a sudden I had to now be the teacher for. And if there was a moment I wish I would have put a plug in my mouth and not said anything beforehand, that was the moment. Because now I had to really live up to a challenge that I really wasn't prepared for, I thought. But I had observed so much along the way that it was quite fascinating. And the moment, I will never forget this, the moment I stepped up on that platform in a different language and explaining a mechanical procedure, an appearance, an outcome, pure magic. That is the moment I realized, wow, this is my profession, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So that was a big stepping stone in my career, actually getting to that point. And then obviously from there on, we did many things around the United States for those 10 years that I was there. It was trade shows, it was performances, it was theater work, it was publications, it was book productions, I was introduced to a whole new era in sense of insights of what the industry is there for and what is needed in the industry. And that was an amazing journey. The journey also took me way outside of the United States. The journey took me to 49 countries around the world, more or less, implementing education systems, setting up schools, learning the local traditions and cultures and everything. And that was another piece of information that was a big challenge to take on, because you had your craft, you had your hands, you had your mind, but you had to interpret this into a different culture, a different background, a different fashion sense, and different social standards, which was then how do you transfer this into this? So that was a big challenge that was even more fascinating to overcome and to learn to be part of that society in a different manner. So that made the whole circle even wider and more ranged in that sense. That was very, very fascinating for me. So a lot of big things happened. Good.